Well, Jeff, why don't we begin by your telling us a bit about your professional background and also about the organization you head. Yep.
So SEPTA is the sixth largest transit agency in the United States. We're centered in Philadelphia and cover 2,200 square miles, including the surrounding counties. We have 9,500 employees, and it's a really good situation because it's just the right size company where we're completely integrated. We have a lot of different modes, and we're pretty big, but you can still run it as one general manager, and I think that really makes for a great transit system because all the different modes are so well integrated then. As for my career, I'm a 30-year SEPTA employee. I worked for 1 year before I came to SEPTA as a bridge engineer, and then I came to SEPTA as an entry-level structural engineer. I ended up spending a lot of time out in the field, battling extremely old infrastructure, and I'm really proud of the efforts of all the people that I worked with over the years. The odds were stacked against us. We often had a lot less capital dollars than other agencies of our size, and yet we stayed at it, and we've been able to really make a difference in terms of the infrastructure here. In 2012, kind of went from doing primarily infrastructure work to becoming deputy general manager, where I also had responsibility for operations, and then became the general manager in 2015. And there's really 5 different areas that I've been working on, areas of focus since becoming the GM: customer experience, workforce development, rebuilding the system, SEPTA as a business, and safety as the foundation. So those are the 5 areas that we focus on.
When you got started, you said around 30 years ago at SEPTA, did you think you would be GM? Did you consciously sort of chart a career path, or was it a matter of just capitalizing on opportunity? What?
I think really what I did was always just focus on making things happen. I really, wherever I was, I wanted to make our organization, wherever I was, work better. And so I didn't really focus on, becoming general manager or moving my way up the corporate ladder. It was really just about getting things done. And I figured good things would happen along the way if I just focused on the work.
And indeed they have.
Yep.
Well, our subject, our main subject today is the employee engagement program you've launched at SEPTA. What's the backstory on that? What led you and the board to launch the program?
Well, our board chairman is a businessman, and he's been, I think it's almost the board chairman now for 20 years here at SEPTA.
20 years?
20 years. And Pat Dion, he's a fantastic boss for me. And we really, both of us have the same philosophy of strongly supporting our employees. It just is something that's really, really pays dividends. And it's the right thing to do. You want your employees to feel motivated and satisfied in their jobs. But you also get real business results out of having engaged employees. So things can get better in terms of absenteeism, employee turnover, safety, customer satisfaction, employee productivity. So it's really kind of a thing that the board and myself have just felt very strongly that we should do the best job we can for our employees. And if you really look at the situation right now, I talk about to our employees that there's a really big competition going on right now. For our customers, we now have things like ride-sharing companies and people working from home, right, and all kinds of other things that are making people have choices to using or not using transit, and so we've got to compete for them. And we're also competing for employees. I mean, employees, there's lots of retirement that's been going on, and unemployment is very low. I think it's below 4% nationally. So we're competing for employees, and so if we're trying to make sure we have enough workers to make our system go. So, if you're looking at making sure that you retain and it's not just get somebody in the door these days and sell them on your company, it's but making sure they're going to stay.
Right, keeping them too.
Yep, build a career. So, there's 4 different generations, and I'll tell you what, employee engagement is not that easy if you think about it, because there's 4 different generations out there right now, and it's interesting that each generation is you don't want to overgeneralize, but there are certainly big differences between the different generations. I can just tell you, for example, myself, I'm a baby boomer, and we like our reviews scheduled, and we want to know when they're coming, and we want to be prepared for them, and we don't really need too many of them. But if you go to millennials, 80% of them say that they would like constant feedback. So, it's really something that I think if you're competing for employees and you want this to be a workplace of choice, you really got to pay attention to the fact that there's a lot of different generational issues, and you've got to really have a strong plan for employee engagement. It's not just something that you can do real easy.
Well, I sat in on the great program you did at, I think it was the SEPTA annual meeting, right?
Yep.
I was fascinated, and I want to compliment you on that. I was really enthralled as you described the generational differences and how you had to take them into account. Well, tell us a bit more about how you structured this program, about the organization of it. What is it in a nutshell, organizationally speaking?
Well, I think let's talk about the principles, that kind of are behind everything. I'm kind of a down-to-earth person. And so, what are we really trying to do, and what are the avenues to successful employee engagement? Some of the principles are obviously respect, appreciation, and recognition from management, very important. I think it's important to provide employees with information, and that's really important. Communication is important, and they should know what the mission is, and also be able to help craft the mission. That kind of two-way communication in the chain of command is very, very important. And I always, I think the big thing too is to speak the truth. I mean, I really have seen that our employees see right through BS. I hate to use that phrase, but they really do. And so you gotta be honest about what's going on. So those are kind of like the very simple principles behind things. As a leader, I believe that I have to model the way that I'm looking for our managers to do this employee engagement effort. And obviously people know I'm very busy, but I get out behind the desk and I make sure that employee issues and engagement programs are a priority for me. And if they're a priority for me, I think it is understood down through my management chain that it is a priority for them as well. So we kind of start top down and try to follow these kind of simple principles and what we're looking for out of our program. And it's been a really great situation for me. I love to get out from behind the desk. I mean, I was a field engineer. That's probably why. But I don't like to get cooped up in the office. But it really provides a lot of benefit.
Well, where do you house this? Where do you house this program, Jeff? Is it in your office or?
Oh no, it's all over the place. It's out in the field. I mean, there's a whole bunch of different initiatives that we do, and then there's things that I do for employee engagement, and then there's really managers beneath me develop their own programs off of seeing kind of some of the things that I'm doing, and also their own things that they've done over the years.
So this really is a decentralized kind of
Yes.
program.
Yep.
It's
Mhm.
everywhere. Well, I know you've launched a number of highly successful initiatives within this rubric of employee engagement, and you told us about them at the annual meeting. Describe 3 or 4 of them, if you would, now, just so we have a good
Okay.
sense of what's happening.
Well, I'm a big fan of the show Undercover Boss, and I've watched that over the years. And so shadowing employees is really important to me, and I think the success of that show really also shows that the workforce has changed a lot over the decades, and that the boss that you didn't want to see and you didn't want to hear from, now it's very different. People want to talk to the boss. They want the boss to know what their jobs are like, what they're battling. They want to give ideas, and so I've shadowed since 2012 30 different employees, and really, really enjoyed it. And it's been so meaningful in my career. I've built some strong relationships out of doing it. I've done everything from ride 11 hours with a bus driver in West Philadelphia till after midnight. I think on a Friday night into a Saturday morning. I've been out with. I love to be out with our cleaners and show them that I really appreciate the work that they do, and I know how difficult it is. But I've gotten out with all kinds of employees. I've been on the cash and trash train around the holidays. That's how I spend the holidays. I've done a lot of things, and it's really been an unbelievable experience. I didn't know how well it would go. But it's been a fantastically positive experience for both me and the employees, and really a lot of change has come out of the things that I've been able to experience out with our frontline employees. So that's one thing that I've really enjoyed.
Okay.
I also take my team, my general manager's team. We have staff meetings like almost every organization, but what we do is we take them on the road, and every couple months we go out and go to a different one of our locations, work locations, and I do have my typical general manager staff meeting, and we go over items, and then we go down and we meet with the workforce, and we also provide them with some food, and we talk about what things their statistics, how they're doing. I talk about, things that I know that they're struggling with, or that we're not, need to do a better job for the workforce. And so those are very good. We get a lot of feedback from the workforce from them. My favorite meal of the day is breakfast. So one of the things that I've done is I can't meet with 9,500 employees and get really a nice setting where I can really draw a lot of information and all from them. And so what I do is I've developed myself and the deputy general manager, Rich Burnfield. We have breakfast with employees. I think we're up to about 175 employees we've had breakfast with. We do them in groups of 12, and it's both management and hourly union employees. And we go over what's going on at their site, where they work, what they think has been working well in their career for them, what things that, SEPTA could potentially do better. And I also give them a presentation on what our business is trying to accomplish. The kind of those 5 areas that I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, and I tell them that they're really ambassadors. I can't meet with everybody and tell everybody what our business plan is in detail, but I can do it with a portion of the workforce, and then really use them as ambassadors. So that's been a great situation. Puts a little extra weight on me, but I love breakfast. And we've
you can have yogurt and granola.
Yeah, well, I love my bacon.
Okay.
And they know that. So they always have, when you're a general manager, they always have the things for breakfast that you like. That's the problem. And a lot of things get brought up, that we've made a lot of changes and fixed a bunch of things that came out of those breakfasts. And it's interesting to watch some of the workers kind of start out kind of tentative, but once, if you speak to people very honestly and show your concern and talk about the things that you've been able to do already, they kind of jump in and give us some pretty good things to work on and fix. And then one of the last things I would talk about is really a program that we started quite a while ago, and that is to make sure that where our workers live out of, their lounges, their bathrooms, those areas are in good condition, and we've been working on it. It was something, for years the mantra was, just customer areas, work on all that. And we did a lot of work, but I think you got to be careful not to forget your own workforce. And so, we've been able to meter out a nice amount of improvements for where our workforce is staged out of all over the system. And I think when you show your workforce that you care about them, even down to their locker and their how clean their bathroom is and all, I mean, it translates into a lot of good things. So all those kind of things are things that I've personally worked on, and like I say, down through the organization, my managers are really encouraged to come up with their own programs for employee engagement.
So it's kind of cascading down, you said in the example with your executive team, but in essence, I suppose you're engaged in cultural change, wouldn't you say? I mean.
Oh, yeah. And it's funny you say that, because really one of the things I'm doing now is I'm going through and meeting with all 2,000 of my managers in groups of about 100 at a time, and basically talking about the kind of cultural change we need for the future. And it comes down to what I said earlier. We're competing for customers, and we need to, be aware of the changing world and how fast things are going, and make sure that we do the best job we can for our customers. And also, creating a great place to work. Again, as unemployment has dropped, we really want this to be a great place to work, a place of choice, a workplace of choice. And so that's really important. And, I think that the other thing that I'd really kind of wrap all this up into too, as a principle behind all this is really listening, listening and then taking action, whether it's with your customers or whether it's employees. I really believe that, leadership doesn't just involve leading, it involves listening.
Well, I certainly concur with that. I'd love to hear more. You're on a tight schedule, though, so why don't we conclude with your summarizing what you see as the return on your investment and the investment of your executives and managers in this program. I know you've mentioned a number of things, but maybe just summarize what you think it's generated for you.
And it's always important to see that you're getting something out of what you're doing. If you're spending time on something and money, is there a return on it? And I can tell you that employee commendations, this is the commendations that come from our customers, have risen 34% in the last 4 years. So
Whoa.
That's a big jump.
That's a big jump.
As our employees feel better supported, engaged, motivated, that translates into good results with your customers. So that's a really great statistic as we focused on employee engagement. I think, one of the other things that I feel strongly about in my career is safety. And it's kind of part of employee engagement because, again, when you're motivating, when you're showing that your employees matter and that they have value, I think safety is a big issue. And so we recently did a safety culture survey. It was a voluntary survey for all 9,500 employees. And we didn't, press hard to get returns. We got right around 50% of our workforce turned in this survey back to us. And for the most part, they felt that, we were paying attention to safety and their interests, and that, we were paying a close attention to safety matters, and that safety was valued at SEPTA. And what you see, too, is that there's been a reduction in injuries that's been very dramatic. From 5 years ago, we have a reduction of lost time injuries it changes, month by month, but it's usually around 30 to 40% reduction from the rates we had 5 years ago. So again, another just really good outcome of talking, communicating, supporting, and working with your workforce. And then, of course, another in a unionized workforce, it's important to have good relations with your unions, and to have an environment where people can work things out and not always just have to put in grievances and battle it out. And so, in many areas we've seen contract grievances go down and improved cooperation, and that benefits everyone. And it certainly also translates eventually to our customers. So these are all areas that we've seen improvement in, and definitely have seen value to doing a strong employee engagement program. But
I'm assuming you and your board feel the investment has been richly
absolutely,
rewarded.
And it's something that it's just so rewarding. People issues matter, whether it's customers or employees. And when you take care of them, they're some of the most satisfying things that you can do in your career. So to have built a stronger relationship with my workforce, just myself, has been a great lesson. Sometimes in my career, I focused so hard on just pushing and meeting objectives that I needed to round myself out. And even for me, I'm kind of an intense person. I needed to make sure that I was always paying attention to people matters. And I think it's been great for SEPTA, and it's been great for me.
Well, this has been a fascinating program. I want to thank you, Jeff. I know what your schedule is like, and I want to thank you for taking the time to tell us about the employee engagement program. And we'll have to circle back in a few months and have you update us on it. But meanwhile, and we're still early in January, so I want to wish you a new year filled with satisfaction and continued success. Thank you very much.
And riders.
Yes.
I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about this issue. It's really an issue that companies need to be paying attention to. Most leaders are now. It's in this battle for both customers and for employees. It's just something, employee engagement is just something you have to pay attention to.
Well,
it's the right thing to do, but you have to.
You can be proud you've created a model that for doing this, that transit agencies and other organizations can apply. And so
I
thanks
appreciate
again.
It's a big team effort here at SEPTA, so thank you, Doug.